How's it going out there, YouTubers? Cyberneticshark here with another new movie review for you. So let's get right into this movie review and see what movie I ended up checking out. So welcome to an all-new movie review, folks out there in social media lands and YouTube land. Welcome! So the movie I'll be talking about today is DC's newest outing and the 8th film in the DC universe. Now, the movie I'm talking about happens to be a female-led film that is really exceptional, was really fun, and they did a really great job with. And that, of course, is a film called Birds of Prey! Oh, yeah! So Birds of Prey, if you haven't seen it yet, is DC's newest outing. It involves Harley Quinn in it. It involves Black Canary. It has a slew of awesome, interesting female superheroes that we really haven't gotten to see on the big screen from DC yet, and they all came together in one awesome film. Now, this film is none other directed by an up-and-coming director who she really hasn't done much except for one other film. She's done a few other short films, but this is really her first really big-budget film. And that, of course, is the director known as Cathy Yan. Oh, yeah. So Cathy Yan, like I said, has only done one other movie. I haven't seen the film, but I have read about it. I have seen the trailer, and from what I've seen, it looks like an interesting film. And the film is actually called Dead Pigs. What an interesting name, I thought. I was like, this is a different title for a film. But this was her first directorial debut versus where this is her first big budget film. And from what I saw in the trailer and what I've read, it seems like a different type of story and kind of like another woman based type of film that really focused and gave women more of the lead role in the film as well. And I thought that was really fantastic and really great because we need more films with female lead roles. And this was, this is kind of the stepping stone for that. And I think that they're doing a great job of trying to bring that to light. Now, when it comes to directing of Birds of Prey, I thought that Cathy Yan did a really great job. I thought she brought a lot of great, style to the film series. I thought she brought a lot of great, awesome, kind of like Patty Jenkins feeling to this film. And I just thought that she did a really great job of giving us some really great dialogue, some really great action sequences, and lots of great humor. And I just thought that she did a really fantastic job and really showed that she has great directing chops, and I'm looking forward to more from her. So this movie has an all-star cast. And to start off this all-star cast, we have none other than Miss Harley Quinn herself, Miss Margot Robbie! Oh yeah! So Margot Robbie, you might recognize, of course, from a slew of films of the years. Wolf of Wall Street. You might recognize her from the new film Bombshell that came out last year. You might recognize her from, several different films of the years, Legend of Tarzan and so forth. But a couple of films I really enjoyed her and thought she was fantastic in was none other than a great film that came out a few years ago that is a kind of like a predecessor to this current film. And is kind of like the introduction to the Harley Quinn character. And that, of course, is a film called Suicide Squad. Oh, yeah! So Suicide Squad, of course, is basically a whole bunch of villains that have come together to become kind of like anti-heroes. And Harley Quinn was a part of that. And Margot Robbie played Harley Quinn for the first time in this film. And Margot just was on point, was Harley Quinn in that film. And once again, she just showed how amazing her talent is, and she brought to life, this comic that has only been around for the last 20 plus years, and brought her to life and gave us this great rendition of her. The voice was down point, and the acting and everything about her was just perfect. And she did a really fantastic job in Suicide Squad and bringing to life Harley Quinn for the first time on the big screen for us. So that brings me to the second film that Miss Margot Robbie is in that I really enjoyed her in. Now, this film is a film that just came out last year and is directed by Quentin Tarantino and has an all-star cast of Leonardo DiCaprio, Luke Perry, one of his last films, Brad Pitt in his Academy Award-winning performance, and so forth. And this movie is a really fantastic film, really enjoyable, really well done by Quentin, and Margot was really amazing in it as well. And that, of course, is a film called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh, yeah. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically kind of a fantasy story of when the Charles Manson murders happened. And basically, like, this actor and his stunt double are kind of in the midst of this all going on, and just, like, pretty much, what's going on in that, era back in the 60s. And Margot Robbie's character, actually, she's supposed to be Sharon Tate, who unfortunately was brutally murdered by Manson's cohorts back in the early 60s. Or late 60s, sorry. And Margot did a really great job of kind of bringing her character to life and giving us a little representation of who Sharon Tate was. And, unfortunately, because she died so young, we didn't really know much about her that much, except for, she was with Roman Polanski, she was pregnant, and, her few films that she did do before, unfortunately, her untimely demise. And Margot did a great job of kind of bringing that character and giving us a little bit of who Sharon Tate was, like I said. But at the same time, I felt that her portrayal wasn't 100% on point because she didn't really look too much like Sharon Tate, the real Sharon Tate. And even though she did a great job of acting and stuff like that, still you could see the difference between how she actually looked and how Sharon Tate actually looked. And how she kind of brought a little bit of like a kind of dumb blonde character to her too, which Sharon Tate was nothing like that in real life. So it was a great role. She did a decent job, but at the same time, there was still those little bit of flaws in the characterization. But at the same time, still Margot did a great job, and I really enjoyed her in the film. Now, it comes to playing Harley Quinn again. Once again, she was on point and perfect in Birds of Prey. She really brought a lot more great sense to the character. You got to delve more in deep into who Harley Quinn is, and just more of like that emotional side and what she's really dealing with and why she's the way she is, and just having to deal with, how her upbringing was and what brought her to being who she is today. And it was just a really great kind of backstory / kind of sequel to her Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad, and she did a really amazing job. She is Harley Quinn always to me, and she was fantastic. That brings me to the second actress in this film, and that, of course, is the amazing and fun, and I always enjoy watching her, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Oh yeah! So Mary Elizabeth Winstead, you might recognize from things over the years. She was in season 3 of Fargo. She's been in a whole bunch of other movies too as well. She played John McClane's daughter in the last 2 Die Hard films, and so forth. But a couple films I really enjoyed her and thought she was fantastic in was none other than a great film that came out in 2006. And that is the third film in an awesome quadrilogy of films that I feel are really underrated and are really fun series. And that, of course, is a film called Final Destination 3, which was in 3D. Oh, yeah. So Final Destination 3, Mary Elizabeth Winstead kind of plays the main actress character in the film, kind of like how Devon Sawa was in the first one, the girl that was in the second one, and, so forth. And she kind of is the one that's having the premonitions and stuff like that, and, basically has to deal with the aftermath and trying to figure out how to stop death from coming to get them. And I just thought she did a really great job in it. I loved her character. I thought she brought a really great realism to the character and just brought a really great presentation as well to that character and made a really fun and entertaining role. If you haven't seen Final Destination 3, definitely check it out for Mary Elizabeth Winstead's performance. She was fantastic in it. Now, that brings me to the second film that Miss Mary Elizabeth Winstead was in. And that, of course, is an awesome film that came out in 2005, and that was released by Walt Disney Pictures. That stars the awesome Kurt Russell, Michael Arredondo, also Nicholas Braun. It had Kelly Preston in it. This movie is just really awesome fun. And Bruce Campbell was in it, too, as well. And that, of course, is a film called Sky High! Oh, yeah! Love Sky High. That movie rocks and is so awesome and so amazing. And I just absolutely love this film. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays a great villain in this film. And is just a really fun character. And I enjoy her performance as, the main villain character, and how she kind of progresses and how her character is and how she has to basically, go from being this mad scientist character that becomes a baby again and then has to grow up again and all that kind of cool stuff. And just, I thought she did a really fantastic job of bringing that to life and giving us this really awesome villain. If you haven't seen Sky High, definitely check it out. It's worth the watch. Now, when it comes to her performance in Birds of Prey, she was pretty fun. I mean, it wasn't her best performance, I feel. I don't feel she got enough screen time either. But when she was in the scenes, I thought she was pretty fun, pretty interesting, and I thought that she had some great one-liners. And I thought that she was a great addition to the family. The next person I like to talk about is an awesome actor who has been in a ton of films. You know him as Obi-Wan Kenobi from the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. You recognize him from a slew of films. He was just recently in Dr. Sleep. He was in About Adam. He has been in a ton of films the last 30 years. He's such an amazing actor. That, of course, is Mr. Ewan McGregor. Oh, yeah! So, Ewan McGregor, like I said, we know him as Obi-Wan Kenobi. We know him from the Trainspotting films and so forth. Now, a couple films I really enjoyed him and thought he was fantastic in was none other than a great film that came out in 2005. It's directed by Michael Bay. It stars the beautiful, gorgeous Scarlett Johansson and is called The Island. Oh, yeah. The Island, I feel, doesn't get enough credit for how good of a sci-fi action flick it was. And just a really great story that involves cloning and basically, you know, celebrities being used, buying these clones to use for excess body parts when their body parts start to go. And I just think that it's a great idea. It was a really fantastically well done film. And Ewan McGregor was just so awesome. And I loved his portrayal of the clone version himself and the real version himself. And I thought both were just really fine-tuned out and just gave these really great and amazing performances. Really fantastic film. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out, people. The Island, it's a great flick. Now, that brings me to the second film that Ewan McGregor is in that I absolutely love, which I think this movie really shows how great of a talent he is because he can sing, he sings in it, and he can dance, and he has great comedy chops. And this film is just really fun and enjoyable. And that, of course, is a film called Down with Love. Oh, yeah, starring Renee Zellweger and David Hyde Pierce and Sarah Paulson. And one of the last roles of the late, great Tony Randall. And this film is just really fun and awesome. I love how it's in the 60s. And Ewan McGregor's character is just so freaking funny. And his drawl and his voice in the film is just on point and perfect. And he is just so awesome in the film and just makes me laugh the whole entire film. And I just think it's one of his best performances, and he's just really fantastic in it. If you haven't seen Down with Love, definitely check it out for his performance. He was awesome, and he was really amazing in it. Now, it comes to his performance, the Black Mask in Birds of Prey. He was amazing. I absolutely enjoyed his role in the film. I thought he did a really fantastic job. Really well done. His humor was on point. His presentation was on point. And he just did a really amazing job of giving us our first impression of the Black Mask. And I really enjoyed his performance altogether. He made that movie for me, and he really made a fun role out of that acting gig. So that brings me to the next actress I like to talk about. And that, of course, is the amazing and funny, great comedian, Miss Rosie Perez. Oh, yeah! So Rosie Perez, you might recognize from a slew of things over the years. She was on In Living Color as a dance choreographer. She has been in a ton of things over the years. Lots of TV shows, lots of TV ads and so forth, and just is a great comic. Now, a couple things I really enjoyed her in and thought she was fantastic in was none other than a great film that came out in 2008 that stars Seth Rogen and James Franco. And that, of course, is a film called Pineapple Express. Oh, yeah. So Pineapple Express, if you haven't seen it, is just a great, stoner comedy film that Rosie Perez plays a really bad character or a bad guy, and she's a cop, too, at the same time, which I think is absolutely hilarious. And I just thought that she played a really great kind of evil character, but at the same time she had some great one-liners. She did a lot of great physicality in the film and just made a really fun role out of her character that was in the film. Really fun role. If you haven't seen her in that, definitely check it out. She was awesome in it. The second film I like to talk about that Miss Rosie Perez was in is an awesome comedy buddy cop film with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg that came out a few years ago. And she actually plays herself in the film, and I think this is absolutely hilarious. Even though it isn't a huge role, she still was so super funny in it, and probably one of my favorite roles of hers. And that, of course, is a film called The Other Guys. Oh, yeah! So the other guys, which is just, like I said, a buddy cop film with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, and she plays herself in the film, and it's not super huge throughout the film, but she still pops up a few times throughout the film, and she's absolutely hilarious in herself and her Rosie Perez-ness, and she just is really fun and enjoyable. If you haven't seen her in her little part in that film, definitely check it out. It's worth the watch. Now, when it comes to her portrayal of Renee Montoya in Birds of Prey, I thought she was fantastic. I love the heat she brought to it. I love the comedy. I love the action and the seriousness she brought to it. And I just thought she really brought Renee Montoya to the table and brought her to life. And just was a great addition to that awesome ensemble cast of these female actors. And they just did she just did a really fantastic job of working with everyone, giving such great one-liners, and just giving a great performance. Definitely, if you're a Rosie Perez fan, definitely check out Birds of Prey for her performance. So that brings me to the final actress I like to talk about in this awesome film. And that, of course, is Miss Jurnee Smollett. Oh, yeah! So Jurnee Smollett, of course, is the younger sister of Jesse Smollett from Empire. She also was huge on Full House back in the late 80s and early 90s. She was one of Michelle Tanner's friends. And she's just a really fun actress that, throughout the years she's done things, bits and pieces here and stuff like that. And, really hasn't done much, but definitely has done, a few things. Now, one of the movies I've enjoyed her in was an awesome Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film that came out in 2006 about football, which is called The Gridiron Gang. Oh, yeah. So The Gridiron Gang is a really fun and interesting film. It's based on a true story. And Jurnee Smollett's character in the film is kind of like one of the friends of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the film that has to do with one of the kids on the football team that he's training and stuff. And she gets involved with some stuff, and so does the guy that's on the football team, and kind of like The Rock has to kind of help them out and stuff like that. And I just thought Jurnee did a really good job of portraying that character, and just a really fun and different role for her versus her, her usual roles that I've seen her in the past. And she definitely was, very interesting to watch in it, and gave a really great adult performance as well. The second movie that I saw Jurnee Smollett in back in the day was back from 1996. It was in the late great Rob Williams film called Jack. Oh yeah, she actually played one of the girls at the school that he's going to, that he's basically kind of becomes friends with. And at the time, this was shortly after Full House had ended, and she had been on Full House, and it was kind of like the same character she played in Full House. But at the same time, it was just kind of fun seeing her in it, because she was such a familiar face at the time. And I just really enjoyed that character, and I thought she brought a great sense to it, and was really funny, and did a really great job, and made the film very enjoyable. And I thought she did a really fantastic job for such a young actress at the time. Now, it comes to her portrayal of Black Canary and Birds of Prey. I thought she was really fantastic. I really enjoyed her presentation of that character. I liked how she brought a different take on the character versus, like, say, an Arrow. And I also thought it was interesting how she really was kind of, like, very motherly, but at the same time she could kick butt. And I thought that she did a really fantastic job of portraying those kind of maternity and that badass kind of persona at the same time, and I thought she did a really fun job, and I thought she worked really well with everyone in the cast and group, and they all worked very well together and meshed really well together. Really great performance by her, definitely worth it if you're a huge Jurnee Smollett fan. So if you're not familiar with what Birds of Prey is about, basically this film is kind of like the emancipation of Harley Quinn and her becoming her own person, away from the Joker, and basically she forms this super group of these vigilantes to help stop these bad guys in the city. And pretty much it's about her kind of learning her new way and learning how to be opposite and separate from who the Joker was, and becoming her own self, and that's pretty much what this film is about. Really fantastic film, really well done, really well directed. CGI work in it, and the action sequences are all fantastic. The music is amazing, and everything about it was really on point and really enjoyable. If you haven't seen Birds of Prey yet, definitely go check it out in theaters now, people. It's worth the watch. So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And also, thank you for subscribing. And if this is your first time here and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? A grand invitation? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this awesome video or any awesome videos I put up. And as always, people, keep your eyes up for any older, newer videos you might not have seen mine yet. And as always, people, check out the awesome Horror Pack, which is a great subscription service of horror films right to your door every month for a great low price, either in DVD or Blu-ray format. And they're always different and always some great stuff. So definitely check that out if you're interested by hitting that link down below. And also, you get a discount through that link for your first month as well. And as always, people, catch you in the next one.